Ari, I'm going to make a critique of you.
Yeah.
This might sound harsh, but I think when you woke up this morning, you were 4-star, borderline 5, hit the barber. That's a 5-star fade.
It's a 5-star fade.
It's a 5-star fade day. National Signing Day 2016. Bill Landis with Ari Wasserman here for cleveland.com talking about the ones who got away. I don't have very many of those in my life. I feel like we could talk a while about the ones that got away in your life. Does that mean? Okay, sorry. We'll talk about football. And what's interesting about Ohio State, I mean, teams lose guys every year. You can't get every player you want, no matter how good you are. The guys that Ohio State really wanted this year, a couple of the guys Ohio State really wanted and missed out on, they missed out on because of
Michigan.
and Jim Harbaugh climbing trees, taking his shirt off. He's got more guts than I do. Yeah, Michigan. Rashan Gary and Kareem Walker, two guys out of New Jersey who Ohio State really wanted, had one of them in Kareem Walker until he decommitted, ended up going with the Wolverines. Urban Meyer is known as this awesome recruiter, one of the best in the country, yet he loses out on two guys that he really wanted, the Michigan and Jim Harbaugh. Just what kind of spin does that put on National Signing Day for you?
Well, I think the first thing that I want to talk about a little bit about Jim Harbaugh is that everybody likes to make fun of everything that he's doing. The shirt off, the tweets, everything about him, the sleepovers, but he's signing a top 5 class, and he did exactly what Michigan needed him to do in his first full year. So I don't think that's an indictment on Urban Meyer, but Ohio State has, and we've written about extensively, I've spent time in New Jersey, tried to use and annex New Jersey as kind of like a Ohio East. And Michigan has also decided they want to emphasize New Jersey as a recruiting basis, and right now Michigan is winning that battle. Now, Ohio State also got Jordan Fuller, so it's not like they're not doing what they need to do. They're getting guys. But right now, when you look at those two prospects between Kareem Walker and Rashan Gary, who is probably the most complete prospect in the class, in the country, to a lot of people, that might make Michigan's class a top 3 class, and Ohio State would have been a runaway number 1 favorite if they would have gotten those guys. Both guys had Ohio State interest. Kareem Walker was committed to Ohio State at one point, actually committed to Ohio State last year during the national championship game. Both are going to Michigan from what, this is the morning, but so Rashan Gary is technically down to Clemson and Michigan, but I think all signs are showing that he's going to Michigan.
Yeah, I think everybody expects him to go to Michigan. And it's Ohio State fans, I think, will be quick to say, like, oh, we didn't want them.
Yeah.
Of course you wanted them. Rashan Gary, like you said, is one of the most complete prospects in the country. You had Kareem Walker, and he made his decision to flip to Michigan. But I think that one, the Kareem Walker one, to me is interesting, and I know you're going to get into this a little bit more, but maybe for people who don't know the story of Kareem Walker a little bit and how that kind of played out with him.
Well, the interesting thing is that Kareem Walker was a 5-star prospect. He's actually been reduced to a 4, and Ohio State did replace him with the top 10 running back, so it's not like everything was lost. Don't pretend like you didn't want him, because you did. But this is a long-standing relationship, and he committed to Ohio State really early before Ohio State really knew who he was that much. And Urban Meyer even hinted that we had accepted commitments early from guys who we don't know about, and he was talking about Kareem Walker, and he did it at halftime. But over the years, the last few years, he's developed deep relationships with Ohio State's coaching staff, especially with Ed Warner, who's been his personal recruiter. And, I think that hurts just to have a guy like that who's as good as Kareem Walker is at this level. And, to see him not only not come to your school, but to flip to your arch rival is just a tough thing to swallow. He's early enrolled. He's already at Michigan and will take part in spring, and he might be a great player down the road for them. So just the idea of recruiting rankings, that's what signing day is about. Losing both of those guys really bolster Michigan's class, and Ohio State's is also up there, but they would have been the runaway number 1 in my opinion if they would have gotten both those guys.
And on the subject of guys who got away, if there's a critique you could make about Ohio State in this recruiting class, it's the lack of a defensive tackle, and they certainly tried. Rashan Gary was on the top of their list and everyone else's. Antoine Jackson and Rashard Lawrence are 2 other guys who Ohio State ended up not getting, and now guys can always swap positions, and there are certainly guys in this class and last class who you could say could possibly be defensive tackles down the road, but what kind of a miss is that for Ohio State to not be able to land one of those marquee defensive tackles?
That's the peril of recruiting at this level, is trying to go into the South and pulling guys like those two out of their territories, and trying to go into Louisiana and take a kid from LSU. It's never happened before for Ohio State, and it's not going to happen now. So there's still a potential that they'll add a junior college transfer who's going to be announcing between Ohio State, Alabama, and Central Florida later on this afternoon or today at some point. And, that might be another defensive tackle. But when you start talking about Rashan Gary, who's got 4 years left, and Jamar King, who, might be an instant contributor right away, but, I think that it definitely hurts that they don't have the defensive tackle that they wanted. Now, they do have Malik Burrow, and he is early enrolled, but he's too, like Joey Bosa's brother Nick, is coming off of a knee injury. So, it might just be kind of an interesting scenario to see how the defensive line plays out, especially now that they're losing Adolphus Washington and Joey Bosa off last year's roster.
And I feel like we're being kind of a little glum maybe about a class that's virtually tied for number 1 in the country. Ohio State is very happy with what they have. 23 kids committed as of the morning of National Signing Day, and a few more in the works later today that they're hoping they lock up. So it's not a bad day for Ohio State. It's just remember those guys.
Just also important to remind you that, Michigan, as much as you guys probably laugh at what he's doing, it's a force that needs to be reckoned with. Ohio State is and will continue to go head-to-head with Jim Harbaugh to try to get guys, and he's getting his guys. So, it's not so much of a, whoa, what's Ohio State's problem, as much as it is this is a threat, and it's going to continue to be one.
Yeah, which is really interesting for us. Maybe not so much for you guys who are Ohio State fans, but we like keeping up on it and writing about it, certainly. So we'll keep writing about National Signing Day. For Ari, I'm Bill. Thanks for watching on cleveland.com.